welcome everyone to the HEV studio. And here today with us, we have Chance Hanlon. We also have Brian Hanlon on the phone line and Tim and myself. And
Good afternoon.
Everyone say hi.
Hi.
Say hi, Pop.
Hi, how's everybody?
We've got him. Now, today we are just going to go through a little bit of Hanlon Windows history and where it all started, which is why I've got Brian on the phone. Now, Pop, I just want to ask you, why Windows? What made you go into Windows? What made you start Hanlon Windows?
Well, your grandmother, brother, owned High Sierra Windows in Wollongong, which was only a little back shed in a back street at the time.
Yep.
And he said to me, why don't you come down and have a go at these windows? And I thought about it, and I needed I needed a climate change. And so I went down and I worked for him for a few weeks and got the gist of it, went back and saw Judy Hanlon and said, we're going to move. And that was a little bit traumatic, but anyhow, we moved.
It always is a big move like that.
Yes, I went back down and I said to him, well, I'll break new ground. You've got Wollongong. I'll go down and break into the Shoalhaven area and further down and see what I can dig up for your business. And it took me approximately about 6 weeks before I got my first order. Which was from a gentleman in Vincentia called Brian Smith. And
you have a very good memory.
Yes, and I delivered that lot of windows with reveals on, which was never heard of because Trimview used to deliver once a fortnight to Beck's Hardware in Nowra in a kit, a flat pack with the reveals and the window assembled.
Oh, okay.
And then you had to do it all yourself. Well, when I delivered it all complete, then it all started. And within 4 months, I doubled his business.
Wow.
So within another few months, I doubled it again.
Wow.
And he could not cope. So I started in the garage in Aspinall Street at Shoalhaven Heads, making a few fly screens and buying some windows in from various places.
Yep.
And that's how I started out.
There you go.
And I do recall you would actually pick the windows up yourself from where they were manufactured and bring them back. And you'd probably get back at 6, 7 o'clock at night, have dinner, and then you'd be back out again. You'd be delivering windows out to Vincentia to blokes like Brian Smith and many others.
I would arrive at Alcan at Girraween and I would turn up with a box of prawns and to make sure that my windows were all made for me. That was the promises.
Yeah.
And I would load up the truck. I would go back down and I would deliver them and drive back to Sydney again and get another load. And then I'd wander through probably about 7, 8:30 of a night, back in with the next load. I'd offload that the next morning. And then I would head back up after lunch because the production line couldn't keep up with me.
That's really interesting, Pop. And what started your venture at Bowlong Road here at Bomaderry?
Well, I got hunted out of Shoalhaven Heads because of being a residential area.
Yeah.
And that's when I went to 41 Bowlong Road into the old Glithro factory. Meghaven Hire was in the front. And I was in the little shed at the back. And then I kept working away at it. And Davidson, the plumber, he owned the premises. And Meghaven Hire moved out eventually. And I took over the whole thing. And I worked away at Mr. Davidson. He was building a new house. So we come to a business decision. I'd buy that property off him. And then I kept filling and expanding and making it bigger and adding bits to it. And yes.
And then you had Mr. Chance over here come join you. What was it like bringing him on board when he was what, 18?
18, 19 years old.
Well, yep. I don't know. He got spoilt by his mother, but I finished up. I had to ask his mother to leave the business. One boss could only have one boss, you know. So, and Chance was getting all the little luxuries that wasn't in my vocabulary, you know.
Yeah,
so,
it was called morning tea and lunch being made for you every day.
That's
And
what mums are for.
fantastic it was, yeah.
Yes. So anyhow, yes. So from there on, I met a man which I started with by the name of Lou Otomansky. I rang him up and said I'd like to buy metal from you, and he said, "Where are you from?" And I said, "I'm from Nowra." "And where's Nowra?" I said, "Oh, a couple of hours south of Sydney Airport." "I'll ring you back." And he rang me back about an hour or so later. He knew everything about me. He said, "I will see you at 10 o'clock tomorrow."
Wow.
And sure enough, he turned up. He walked around, looked at me, spoke to me for about 3 hours, shook my hand and said, "Your tooling will arrive in 2 weeks and you pay me 30 days and we'll have a lovely friendship." And that's how it started.
Well, there you go. Now,
So that was the AMP window.
yep. And so now we've obviously moved on to AWS systems, and now moving.
That's another story.
Yeah.
So when APL come to Australia, they wanted to start a window business, and Pop was looking at a window section, designing a window section, and these guys walked out of the blue, AWS, that said, "We're starting this new company here in Australia called AWS, and we want you to buy a window section from us." And in that same breath, he said, "Well, that's fine, but I'd like to have a major say in it." So all of a sudden, you were a shareholder in this particular business that was designing a new window section, correct?
Yes, well, it started when Gavin Peed and David McCleary decided to leave Trend Windows, and who I'd known for many years, and then so I tried to get David McCleary to come and work for me and design window suites. He said, "I can't talk to you at this stage, but I will after Christmas," which he did, and that's when the New Zealand connection came to fruition, and so that's what you're just saying, Chance, that I needed to have more say in it, so I got a share in it, and which I expanded along the way, and yes.
So
I was in that business for 14 years, and seen a lot of growth in it, and I if I have a look at it today, there's probably 9 or 10 Hanlon trained employees running that business.
Yeah, it was good grounding, and that's always been the fact that if you start at a fabricator level, you sort of understand how something goes together, how the customer perceives it and how they want it, and then to go back to the start of the process of actually designing and extruding and powder
Making
coating.
something that will actually work for those purposes.
Exactly, like they've learnt a lot way down the line.
Yeah.
Well, that sort of tells us a lot about the business in the first probably 15 to 20 years, doesn't it? Now,
that's stuff that I didn't even know.
Fantastic. It's fantastic.
So let's have a little chat about where we're headed. So we've now got Chance obviously running the company, taken over from Brian. And we've got Chance's 3 kids, obviously Tim, myself, and our sister Mad also in the company now. So it is a real family affair here. We've got everyone on board doing very different roles, but all equally as important. And it's really nice to see where it's come from and where we're heading today in 2017, which is really exciting. So, Chance, you've had a long run through the business. You've done everything from factory floor to production managing to managing and building the Oak Flats showroom to general managing to pretty much you name it, you've done it, which is great because it gives you a wealth of knowledge to pass on to us and everyone else in the team. And, I like doing these sorts of things because it's exciting to inspire ourselves to move forward and see where we're going now.
Absolutely, and that's why these podcasts that we're now starting to do, people don't know about how the business started. Who was Brian Hanlon? Who was Judy? And so it goes on. So we thank Dad, we thank Pop, Brian Hanlon for being with us today. And that's sort of how Hanlon started. B&J Hanlon it was back then, back in 78. And here we are today with Hanlon Windows. And we'll bring you the next stage of how Hanlon's progressed when Brian Hanlon decided to retire. Very soon. Yeah,
definitely. So stay tuned, everyone. Thank you for listening. Thanks, Pop.
Cheerio.
Thanks, Pop.
Bye from Brian Hanlon.
Thanks, everyone. Stay tuned for our next instalment. Thanks for listening.
Bye.